Please let us stand. Let us stand, please.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Ipò aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Ipò aṣíwájú l'Ẹlẹ́dùmarè fún wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe gírí, ọmọ Ọ̀yọ́ ká tẹpá wa mọ́ṣẹ́, ká bára wa sọ̀rọ̀, ká sòdodo, ká ṣohun tó tọ́ tó dára, nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo, fòpinlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Onírẹ̀yìn o, lójú mi, onírẹ̀yìn o, onírẹ̀yìn o, nígbà tèmi, onírẹ̀yìn o. Èmi aṣohun tó tọ́ tó dára, nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo, fòpinlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá.
Lautech anthem.
We sing for Lautech, your promotion of applied sciences. All see the spectrum and the beginning of the race of progress. Students of Lautech are the leaders today we manifest. Great staff committed to the training of the total masses. Great Lautech, great is one of us, always stand for excellence. Great Lautech, great is one of us, integrity and service. Integrity and service. Integrity and service.
Please, let's be seated. Once again, we want to officially welcome you to the faculty lecture of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences of the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. This morning, the organizers of this lecture have gone far and wide to look for a most distinguished lecturer to handle the topic before us. And the topic is the African environment in historical perspective, challenges, prospects, and opportunities. Like I said, it will be delivered by a very distinguished Emeritus Professor John AYOTUNDE BEWAJI. When it is time, we'll be called to the high table so that we can all get to know him. Now I'll make some recognitions and invite dignitaries to the high table. The Vice Chancellor said we are all important and we are special, but then we need to identify some individuals who will be in charge. Please join me in bringing to the high table representative of the Vice Chancellor of this university, a very distinguished professor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Strategy and Development, Professor Tunde Ogunkunle. I am surprised that the organizers have not brought program of event. If they have it, please distribute now so that we can be properly guided. I also want to call to the high table the Dean of Environmental Sciences, Professor Margaret Areo. Professor Areo, until very recently, was a member of the Governing Council, and she did so well in serving the university along with other members of the 10th Governing Council of this university. Please permit me to invite to the high table a very special guest, a big elephant, the guest lecturer of today, Emeritus Professor John AYOTUNDE BEWAJI. At this point, you will please permit me to recognize the presence of some dignitaries. I want to announce the presence of a very respected father of that faculty, former dean of the faculty, Professor Thompson Adeboyejo. Please be upstanding for recognition. We have a professor very respected and distinguished by all standards. Some of us prefer to call him Water is Life for short. The Dean, Faculty of Art and Social Sciences, Professor Frank Ebijua. You are welcome, sir. Permit me to recognize the presence of the Dean of Clinical Sciences, Professor Adenike Yanoluwa Olugbenga Bello. We have a very special mother, the Dean of Management Sciences, Professor Abiola Idowu. Please be upstanding for recognition. We have Dean of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Afolabi Oladele. Please be upstanding for recognition. Dean of Agric, you are respected. Please be upstanding for recognition. Professor Azim Ige. We have Dean, Faculty of Pure and Applied Sciences, Professor Olusope Alade. You are welcome, sir. It is my pleasure to inform us that we have the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences, Dr. Fumi Amao. I want to recognize the presence of another father figure in that faculty, Professor Emmanuel Toyobo. I am pleased to inform us that we have Professor Oluwole Ajayi, also from the faculty. The coordinator of Cement and Concrete Research Group, very distinguished Professor Hakeem Ayinde Rahim. Please be upstanding for recognition. You are welcome, sir. I've just been warned to be mindful of the time that we have before us. And so, we'll go back to the program of events to listen to the welcome address of Dean of Faculty of Environmental Sciences, Professor Margaret Areo.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, students of this great institution, Lautech, please permit me to stand on the already established protocol. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the third occasional lecture of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences, titled The African Environment in Historical Perspective, Challenges, Prospects, and Opportunities. The issue of the environment is one that should be topmost on everyone's mind, especially in an interdisciplinary institution like ours. Like the human skin that covers almost all the organs of our bodies, the environment is the cloak that covers us, protects, enhances, and ensures our well-being as humans. But our built environment, which simply refers to all man-made structures that provide for all human activities, ranging from our buildings, either residential, commercial, industrial, or institutional, neighborhoods, cities, our roads, waterways, bridges, tunnels, transportation system, parks, green and open spaces are today nothing to write home about. One of the Holy Book tells us that when God finished all what he had created on the sixth day, and I quote, God saw that it was good. That was Genesis 1:31. Unfortunately, the environment is far from beautiful now. We are faced with many man-made challenges that pose existential risks to humanity and the global environment, such as social and economic challenges, biodiversity loss, ozone layer depletion, climatic change, and many more. In other words, a large percentage of the challenges faced today are man-made, and our African environment is not left out of these challenges. And as the Yoruba will say, Ile Latin ko eshorode, charity begins at home. The change must start from us. But the big question is, how do we make that change if we don't know how we got where we are today? As our people will say, Omoto so ilenu, so apo iyakoni. According to Marcus Garvey, a people without the knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. He reiterates further by saying, a race of people is like an individual man until it uses his own talent, takes pride in his own history, expresses his own culture, affirms his own selfhood, it can never fulfill itself. We are therefore delighted to have Professor Emeritus John AYOTUNDE BEWAJI walk us down historic memory lanes to bring us back on course, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And that man do not learn much from the lessons of history is in itself the most important of all the lessons that history has to teach. We heartily welcome you all. I enjoy you to sit down, relax, and pay rapt attention as we all drink from the rich well of Professor Tunde Bewaji's knowledge. Once again, I thank you all for coming and welcome you to this momentous occasion. Thank you.
We thank the Dean for welcoming us and for making it so brief. Now it is time for us to listen to the Vice Chancellor for his address and to declare this event open. I respectfully call on Professor Tunde Ogunkunle to come and present the address of the VC.
The guest lecturer of today, our erudite professor, Professor John AYOTUNDE BEWAJI, the Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences, other deans and provosts here present, distinguished professors, heads of departments, distinguished administrators, invited guests, students of this great university, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here representing the Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Arorom Kalilu. Incidentally, the VC is around today, but after the courtesy visit by the guest lecturer, the Vice Chancellor has to attend to some equally important matters within the university, and that is why I'm here representing him. There is no formal address by the VC, but I'm here to transmit his greetings and message of congratulations to the Faculty of Environmental Sciences for this momentous occasion. I also want to equally transmit message of commendation to the faculty for this occasion. This is another moment through which we want to tap knowledge from experienced and erudite professor of philosophy. This particular lecture is very important because it deals with environment. As we are all seated or standing here today, we are all products of the environment. Again, we are also students of history. Whatever we do, whatever we say, wherever we go, we have one thing or the other to do with environment and history. And because of this, today's lecture is very, very unique because it is titled The African Environment, History in Historical Perspectives, which means that it is a combination of sound knowledge about the environment as well as history. The faculty is also very unique in its approach today. Unlike what we do in most other faculties where we deliver faculty lectures. There is another name attached to this lecture, which I very much like, because it is more than faculty lecture. Because of this, I salute you. I want to charge us today, as we are seated, that let us be calm, let us be ready to tap from the source, knowledge about the environment. The Dean defined the environment from the perspective of specialists in the faculty to us tomorrow. But as a biologist, I want to define environment as being all-encompassing. We have even internal environment. We have external environment. Even our gut is an environment, isn't it? So, let us be attentive. On this note, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, I declare the faculty lecture of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences open. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in bringing to the high table Dr. M.A. Hassani to read the citation of the guest lecturer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vice Chancellor, represented by DVC Strategy and Development, the Dean, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, our guest lecturer, erudite Professor BEWAJI, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to read the citation of our guest lecturer. I don't need to define for us who a professor is and who is a professor emeritus. But for the benefit of who do not know, John means God has been gracious. Isola means bringer or creator of wealth. The meaning of AYOTUNDE is joy has returned. And BEWAJI means one who wakes up in wealth, in beauty, rises with beauty. Our erudite guest lecturer is an Ijesha man. And if you know an average Ijesha man, they are not arrogant, but are proud people. Therefore, wherever they are, they should be specially recognized. Yani mo ṣe sọ pé ade o, Ìjẹ̀ṣà o, ade o, mi ama ide kiyan mama a, igbo mo ikun kiyan mamu roko, ọjà mo ikun kiyan mama fin, esosi yo mo lage mo bokun borisa, gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ wa dọwọ́ Èdùmàrè o, ade o, Ìjẹ̀ṣà o, bàbá gbéra ńlẹ̀ kò dìde, Elékùté lásọ ìgbàjọ, ẹlẹ́gọ̀dọ̀ lásọ àwọn Ìjẹ̀ṣà, èyí tó bá dára ni ọ̀rá fún mi wá, ọ̀rọ̀ òǹjọ́ jẹjẹ kúkú olóye, ẹnìkan ijó lóye dùnrán bàbá rẹ̀, wọ́n lọ́mọ bẹ́ẹ̀ jáwé kẹ́gbàá ni, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá já méjì ẹgbàájì, Ìjẹ̀ṣà tó já mẹ́wàá lọ sẹ́rù ọ̀wá pé Jọ́ọ̀nù ọmọ ẹ lẹ́ni ẹ̀wẹ́lẹ́ àtúnyí agogo tírìmù tí o ọ̀rọ̀ lílá dòwe agogo tírìmù tí o ọ̀rọ̀ lílá dòwe yẹyẹ ẹlẹ́rùn méjì ìkan lẹ́rùn mi ṣe ìdààmú mú yòókù mẹ́mú pààyàn alẹ́ àwẹ́ ara lóyàlóyà máa wà ló ń bẹ ló bẹ́bẹ́ o ó mú ṣòkòtò kékeré lágbóró ayéra adé sílé ọ ayéra adé sílé ọ. Professor Emeritus John AYOTUNDE Isola BEWAJI has his origin in Esauke, an indigenous Ijesha community, Osun State, and has his first court of academic teeth by obtaining a Bachelor of Arts degree, BA Honours from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University in 1979, Master's degree of Art in the same university in philosophy in 1982. He obtained his PhD in philosophy at the University in 1991. In the same year, he obtained a postgraduate certificate in philosophy for children from Montclair University, New Jersey in 1991. He also got a postgraduate in 2003 and 2006, respectively. His contribution to research in institutions world over is worthy of note, among which are, he was the Guggenheim Research Fellow in Philosophy of Culture in 2010, J. Newman Endowed Chair and Visiting Professor of Philosophy of Culture, Brook College, Johannesburg, South Africa. Professor BEWAJI has served as founder and chairman of various academic and professional bodies, which include member of one University of Indies mentor of academic staff, member, Codestria College of PhD students, International Society of African Philosophy and Studies, editor, Caribbean Journal of Philosophy, and founding president, academic of African Indigenous University. Furthermore, Professor BEWAJI is a prolific writer who has authored many unpublished books, some of which are between 2003 and 2021. Some of them are Beauty and Culture in 2003, Black Aesthetics in 2013, The Humanities and Dynamics of African Culture in 21st century 2017, Fragmented Identities in 2021, among others. His scholarly publications are over 100 peer-reviewed research articles in encyclopedia and anthologies, and books and journals. His keynote invited lecture, lead and conference presentations since 1980 when he joined the Faculty of Philosophy, University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and numerous. It is worthy of note that Professor BEWAJI supervised all the PhD dissertations awarded at the University of West Indies before becoming Professor Emeritus. He has served as a reviewer for tenure and promotion of academics globally. Not writings and discourses have raised serious concerns in environmental humanities, Federal University, in environmental humanities, Federal University, Lokoja, a center that is the first of its kind in the whole of African continent. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, in celebrating a professor of professors, mentor of mentors, mentor of numerous mentees, founder and trailblazer, integrated wealth and well of philosophical knowledge from which we are going to drink today. Let us applaud AYOTUNDE, a joy to humanity, who has brought so much joy into our global academic landscape with his immense contribution. Join me to welcome BEWAJI, who not only has woken up to the beauty of our philosophical worldview, but has been spreading that beauty globally in his lectures, thoughts, writings, and discourses. With a thundering ovation, let's welcome this highly cerebral and celebrated scholar, a man who teaches with faculty, full of erudition with feasibility, imbued with academic serenity, full of intellectual tranquility, a sagacious personality. Professor John AYOTUNDE BEWAJI ISOLA, you are welcome to the microphone.
Please be seated. I don't know. I was looking for who the gentleman was, talking about. But the part that I enjoyed most was the Ijesha start of the thing. Ori mi wu. Esheun, thank you so much. I really appreciate. Ọlọ́run ní ba ẹwà èdè Yorùbá jẹ́. Àwọn tí ń sọ pé ọmọ mi ò gbọ́ Yorùbá, ìbànújẹ́ burúkú ló wọlé wọn. àmọ́ tá a ṣe sí àmọ́ báwọn gbàdúrà sí Elédùmarè àtàwọn tó láyé àtàwọn ancestors wa pé kán bá wa deliver wọn wọ́n ní the deliverance ẹ ṣeun bàbá. All of this, if I make a mistake here this morning, is my sister there, you should blame, because she conscripted me into this. It's not like I was not a willing participant in my own crucifixion, but I hope I will not disappoint. So I want to stand on all existing protocols and begin the discussion. Actually, what I wanted that's a PDF that you have. Okay. I'm going to start by thanking the Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences, who has been my interlocutor for quite some while, discussing about various things. She enlightens me about numerous things, and we've had all kinds of little exchanges here and there. So I want to really appreciate her. And you can all clap for her. It's not a sin. And also the Vice Chancellor, who was quite very accommodating in having this particular occasion. Thank you. I will start with a full disclosure of my conflict of interest, so that I'll be, you will understand my partiality to what I'll be doing. And I will start on an autobiographical note, because then you will know where I'm coming from and where I'm going. You don't have something I can use to control it myself? No? Please don't scroll yet. Yeah. All right. I was born about 70 plus years ago in the place where Eledumare lives. And that is Esauke. God, Eledumare, not the Jewish or the Arab blood-sucking, deities. This is Eledumare, the Yoruba Eledumare, and that is from where Eledumare oversees everything happening in Yoruba land. That was where I was born. It was the most beautiful town in Ijesha land, the most beautiful in Yoruba land, the most beautiful in Nigeria as well as in Africa. I was born into the Pasubo Pasuju Biogidan family. Ní agbo ilé Òròlú ọmọ Onífọ́n, ọmọ Kẹ̀láwẹ̀. And my great uncle, the senior brother to my father, was the Lumo Ogun of Esauke. And he was a member of the King's Council. That's a traditional chief. My own father Isaiah Ola Afe BEWAJI was one of the people who brought the apostolic church to Esauke. And his junior brother was an Alhaji. So I was born into a complete Yoruba family where all the three religions, the traditions were present. And you know, I grew up with Elephant, our tradition. Esuru, Lafin Soru, Elephant. Okay? And we went around during the Elephant rituals. We went around the city, collected money as children, and it was very festive. When the Christians were having their own thing, it was also good for the children. And when the Muslims were having their own thing, it was good for the children. We did not discriminate because everything was Ikomi. So I had a full-blooded upbringing as a child into African environment. The complete Ijesha, Yoruba environment. Therefore, when I say African environment in historical perspective, I'll be speaking from that background. I was brought up in an Agboile, in an Akodi. All of that is gone now. The filial environment. It was only when I got to Jamaica in 1991 that I began to understand what you mean by uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces, aunts, all creations of the white man for discrimination, distanciation, and separation. As far as I was concerned, once you are older woman, old enough to be my mother, you are my mother. The same thing with any grown-up man, you are my father. I dare not call you any other thing. And everybody, we were all children, brothers and sisters. Actually, something happened when I started teaching at Ibokun Grammar School in 1975. One day, this young man just packed his things on his head and came to me in Ibokun. I said, Remy, kilo sele. Oni ẹ̀gbọ́n mi ni. He has come to retake his WAEC. He had only 3 subjects. And at that time, you needed 5 subjects to be able to move forward. So we lived for 1 year. So when I went home, I went to my dad. I said, Baba kilo sele, Remi Egunjobi wa, ole ni àbúrò mi lòun. My daddy said, you don't know this Ọmọ Lágbájá, Tóbi Lágbájá, Ilé Lágbájá, àbúrò rẹ̀ ni. That is fine. So what I'm saying, the environment is not just the built environment, it's not just this physical material. It is family environment, the filial environment where I grew up. My father was a builder who built all over Western region. He designed pattern doors. Batten door language in those days. You know, you adulterate the English, is patterned doors. And he had the attender where they made turns. All these beautiful chair, stands and all the tables and all those things. He did all kinds of designs. But he had an eye for excellence. And he was a perfectionist. So, unfortunately, he passed at the tender age of 110. He joined them in the European wars, which they called World War II. And the things that he brought home were there. The bag, the helmet, and various other things. They didn't allow him to keep the guns. And my mother, Iyaonigari, was a veteran trader, and I was her handbag. From SOK, we walk over to FNAI. Idua Jinori, Esaudo. Ido Faboro, where the Ilesha people are now claiming to be their own, which is causing a little bit of a fracas. I don't know how Ilesha people can jump over Ijebujesha and come to, you know? All right. So that's the background from which I come. And it helps to frame my discussion. Because I want you to know that what happened to us that created a society that we are living in is an abomination, is an aberration. It would never have happened during the time of our great ancestors. We have not yet woken up. Most of us don't realize it because we have lost so much and we don't know what we have lost. My theoretical framework is what I call the phenomenological heuristic hermeneutics. I'm going to make it subjective so that everybody can relate to what I have to say about the environment in historical and contemporary perspective. My theoretical framework is afẹ́fẹ́ ti fẹ́ àti rí fùrọ̀ adìyẹ. Okay? That's my theoretical framework. And the reason why I chose that is that there is no reason for any of us to continue to believe. There's no reason for any of us. Fortunately, my mouth is big enough. Okay. There's no reason for any of us to continue to parrot the inanities that frame our existence and continue to hold us hostage. Things are so dynamic. Most of the things that science and technology are discovering now, our ancestors knew them thousands of years ago. But unfortunately for us, we are now governed by ideas which encrustated just within the last 5,000 years. And that's the disaster of it. So, I don't speak English very well, and who do not speak Yoruba very well, there is something you need to do about it. Afẹ́fẹ́ ti fẹ́ àti rí fùrọ̀ adìyẹ. My discussion will go along the following lines. I'll go to the slides to let you see, historically, what our ancestors knew, and then we will speak to them. Yes, please. What you have there is my way of looking at the myths, the images, the constructions, the frauds, the ignorance, the science, and the realities, the galaxies, and the universes. How many of us in the, my senior colleagues, ẹ̀yin ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n, ẹ̀yin ọ̀mọ̀wé, how many of you know that Yoruba actually believe that this is not the only universe? Ladies and gentlemen, how many of us are aware that this is not the only universe? And science is only confirming it in recent times. Okay? Yoruba believe that there are at least 7 heavens and 7 earths or worlds. I don't know if you get that. So the environment in which we live is one in which the Yoruba already understand that there are many, many, many worlds. You'll ask me, how did they speculate about that? Ask how in the Congo Basin, they had a calendar that is better than the Gregorian calendar that we use, more accurate. And they were able to predict the movement of the solar systems. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to suggest. I'm saying that our environment is interrelated and interlocked with the other heavens. So, when some people say God created the heavens and the earth, they are talking about this solar system alone. And they are talking about the planets and the earth. It's an ignorant myth. Because if there are many heavens, the question is, where, when, how did that character create the heavens and the earth? Which we never ask. We never think about it. We are told the nature of God is incomprehensible. And because we have been hard, when the white man, the English say you have been hard, you have been hard. It means you have been taken advantage of. You forget that your ancestors knew better. And there are many universes there. So when people talk about UFOs, it is possible that yes, there are more superior beings actually visiting us. And our ancestors understood that, and they're able to harness those energies. If you read Ogbomoso, you will understand. Fagua was not just fictionalizing, he wasn't just dreaming. He was packaging in coherent format ideas already had. It's because that is a hurricane, which is very common in the Americas. We have it in Jamaica a lot, and it actually comes from West Africa. It forms from the heat and the waves, and then it moves across the Atlantic. Previously, people could not monitor it, but now we are able to monitor it. We can predict it. We can know the speed at which it is traveling. We can know the intensity. So, afẹ́fẹ́ ti fẹ́ àti rúfurú adìyẹ. Since we have knowledge now, you going somewhere either on Mount Horeb or Mount Sinai to pray that the hurricane shouldn't come, it's a waste of your time. It is coming. You better batten down. Nobody goes to the church to pray when the alarm goes that the hurricane is coming. You secure your things. You move to higher ground. Okay? Otherwise, the thing will catch you where you are praying and it will sweep you and your whatever crap you are holding away. So, the only problem is that the black man is the last to wake up. Okay? The black person is the last to wake up. So, you know the weaver bird, that's how they make their nests. They make it environmentally friendly. Okay? They make it to accommodate nature, to survive nature. They don't build against nature. I mean, look at where we are. Who except a black man or person will build a hall like this in a tropical, humid environment? You know, you just tell me. Yeah, please. That's the termites. You see how they build their own house? They know the nature of the existence that they needed, and they built with that knowledge to be able to survive. All right? Yes. Now, these are students of the Faculty of Architecture at the University of the Free State in South Africa. This is their annual project. They are recreating indigenous homes in South Africa before modernity destroyed us. They are studying how their ancestors lived, how they were able to survive. Can you ask yourself, if the white man was correct about the state of nature? All of us, we went to school, political scientists, political philosophers. They told us that man's nature is depraved. Man's nature is evil. And I said, that's an abomination. That's not true. I was not born in sin. I was not conceived in sin. My mother and father enjoyed each other to produce me out of love. That's why they called me AYOTUNDE. Why would anybody believe that kind of rubbish? And then they talk about state of nature. State of nature means that none of you would be here if everybody only looked out for himself. Have you ever conceived of a day-old baby left alone without care? You know how many years it takes for any of my brothers and sisters here, the younger ones who are students, and even in their the teens and 20s, some in 30s, they still live at home. And then you talk about state of nature. It's just, doesn't add up. Okay, the black person needs to wake up to challenge all the stories, the narratives created out of ignorance and out of mischief by the white man. Yeah, please. Okay. All right, hold it. That is my father's house. Okay, that's where I grew up in the 50s. I know that many of you will be familiar with those structures, especially some of us who are not so young and who are not so old. Now, many people told me that I need to destroy that to build a modern house. I said, are you telling me I'm ashamed of what was current in my father's time? What he spent his time building? I said, you know, what he built is really better than what many people are building now that they call houses. Go to the next one. This is after restoration. Because I insisted that if that is the only house of that type that is going to stand in Esauke, for as long as I'm still alive, I will keep it. And I know that my children understand what I'm talking about. They will keep it. It could become a museum so that people can see how something that was built in the 40s. If you look very carefully, I want you to look very carefully about the cross ventilation that you have in that building. In other words, you don't really need a fan. In any case, there was no fan as such at that time. What we had was a rediffusion. I don't know how many people know rediffusion. One station, and it was mounted in front of the house. That was the radio that we had. And my father had what do you call it? The gramophone. Okay, the gramophone, you wound it and wound it and wound it. And then, you know, you put the head on the thing and it plays. All right? I'm just letting you see the environment. Please go on. All right, this is a lecture theater at the University of Lagos. You know how steamy, balmy, hot Lagos can be. And a beautiful architect, an intelligent architect, in a society where there is no electricity for cooling, this is the best that our professors could design. I mean, I don't know, sorry, Emma Bino. I'm just wondering who could have designed a monstrosity like this or like that? Tears. Humanities Block 1. Anybody remember? Any old timer here? It used to be, you know, a place where all the activities were planned, all the protests, you know, all the alutas and everything. Eh? Yes, please go on. You know that guy? That's Wale Soyinka. That is Kongi's house in the quarters. Just look carefully at it. You can see that it's different from the houses we build now. It uses what you call, you know, those windows, louvers. You can open everything. You can open only one. You can open 3. You can open 4. But look at what you do now. If you open this one too wide, it will fall off. Huh? Please go on. Yeah, this is, I'm showing the windows in terms of the width, both for aeration, cross ventilation, and light, for light to come in. I went to Nairobi, Kenya, and I went to a university there because they knew that they had an electricity challenge. Their lecture rooms were designed in such a way that you only need light when there was rainfall. In other words, when the clouds were there. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. That is Kenya. But here, You don't have electricity, but you build it and expect it to cool. In Jesus' name, it will work. And Allah Akbar, it will work. But that's who we are. Please. Yes. That's the JP Clark at the University of Lagos. You can see the challenge of modernity. The craziness of what we teach our students, who become the engineers, who become the architects, who are and as such, in an environment like this, what do? There is no electricity. The sun is bright out there, but it's not coming into your office. Okay? You now have to plug in a generator to put on the light. And then when you are smoking yourself like Okete, you get home and you are sneezing and you don't know why. Because you have ingested carbon monoxide. Yeah, please. This is New Testament church. I just use that to show how these things creep in. The church architecture has its own. The Islamic architecture has its own. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. And both have a way of feeding on, destroying on ours, and taking over, to the extent that at the end of the day, we are parodies of our humanity. Yes. That's a lecture theater at UniJos. You see that? Somebody saw that somewhere and thought it was beautiful and decided to plant it. And the temperature in George at times could rise up to 35, 40. And that is a lecture theater that could accommodate 1,000 students. What can I say? Aesthetically, it is not beautiful. As a student of aesthetics, I don't find that appealing. Okay? As a pragmatist, I see that as a nightmare. For cooling, for lighting, for, in case we are so fortunate in Nigeria, for example, that we don't have earthquakes. We don't have serious tornadoes, hurricanes, cyclones, or anything like that. And because of that, the things our ancestors would never have done, we do them and get away with them. Please. That's my friend, Moyo. That is Akodeorisa. Okay? Yes. This is University of Zimbabwe. This is University of Zimbabwe. At times, the temperature there could go below 0. Therefore, they have to build, to ensure that they keep the warmth inside. So sliding windows and all those things make sense there. This is why Europeans build their houses the way they did. When you look at Islamic architecture, because of the sand dunes, that is what led to them constructing their mosques, in roundish kind of thing, to withstand sandstorms. When they dress Weribo Wabuka, the only reason they do that is because the sun could blind you, it will destroy your ear, because when it is coming, at times you are looking and I was flying over Oman, 1 year. And the sound, the sandstorm was there. You couldn't see the sky. That's the reason why they do what they do. This way of dressing is not part of religion. It is purely pragmatic. It is just a way of surviving. And our people who wear three-piece in very hot weather, the white man needed it if he wanted to stay alive. It's just simple. That's the whole thing about environmental humanities. If you want to survive, but if you wear three-piece and you tie yourself up like a relia, and then you are sweating like an elephant under the collar, that's your headache. So, please, this is a preparatory school in South Africa. This is in a rural Makanda, where you had Rose University. It's a prep school. A prep school is a primary school. This is better than many high schools in Nigeria. Even some universities don't have buildings that are this clean or beautiful in Nigeria. I was invited to give a keynote at Ogbomoso. And I entered the university. They drove me into the university, and the grass was almost knee-high everywhere. The children were cooking on tripods, stones, 3 stones, with firewood. Many of them sleep on bare floor. And this is where you are preparing youth. The youth you expect them to have an idea of excellence. You expect them to have an idea of patriotism. And yet they see many ruffians who yesterday had nothing, who became honorable, or is it horrible, members of parliament today, and all of a sudden they are building skyscrapers. And then you expect patriotism. And the evil servants are there. Oh, sorry, civil servants. They are there in all the ministries, kidnapping the budget, capturing the budget. You see what our vice chancellors have to go through when they go to those ministries. At times I ask them, why do you do this? Why are you a vice chancellor? If you have to go and beg your former student, the approval has been given, the budget has been approved for you. But they will not release the money until you give them 40% or 60%. And they make you sit in their offices from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. when they find out, I told them that I never have that kind of patience. I'll walk away. You can keep the whole thing and I'll go to the media and I'll say, yes, this is my experience. But many of them got to the positions not of merit. And therefore they can't talk. That is the environment of our educational system, the environment of our governance. You see, I'm trying to link the environment. It's not just environmental sciences that I believe you are doing the wonderful thing, You have architecture, you have this, you have that. But how do you link it with the educational environment, the family environment, the social environment, the religious environment? Everything is so toxic now that you begin to ask yourself, where are we going? I mean, as an undergraduate, I could wake up from Fajui Hall at 1 a.m. and go alone to Humanities Block 1 and sit in a room and read until 4 a.m. and then go and sleep. If you do that now, you will disappear. Most of us don't travel anytime after 5 p.m. If you are still on the road, it's a major prayer point. But, I mean, Ogbomoso was somewhere I used to drive to from Ijebu-Igbo, and I'll still be here at maybe 7 p.m., and I'm still going to Ijebu-Igbo because my sister was schooling here, my sister-in-law was schooling here. So I'll come from Ijebu-Igbo either to bring her here or to see her, and I'll leave here at 7 p.m. Going to Ijebu-Igbo, if I try that now, people will think I'm insane. Probably I must be insane. All the family members will be sitting outside praying until you come at 12 in the night, because anything could have happened. It's not accident because your tires are okay, the vehicle is okay, everything is fine. But it's what we have done to our environment. Our lives have become virtually denuded. You know? Yeah, please. This is Rhodes University, and this is History Building. The university was built, I think, somewhere around, it's over 100 years. Okay? And this structure you are looking at is probably over 100 years. And it's still standing very solid. The reason I showed humanities block in Ife is because it's one of the very first buildings designed. If you build any house like that today, I wouldn't even go inside it because it could fall off anytime. Because anything could happen, and you must be insane. I mean, you please scroll back to humanities building and see the architecture, see the solidity of what you have there. Please go back. Yeah, this. You see, it's standing virtually on nothing. The only beams, the columns that you see, where you see that air conditioning unit, those are the columns that carry all those hanging stuff. I mean, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Both in terms of quantity, quality, you know. That's where the difference is. Go to the next. All right, this is Zimbabwe. This is what you will call a slum, okay? A ghetto. But you can still see the windows are large enough, okay? Both in terms of air and also to shade, because they also have winter. But you can see how solid it is. This is where the poor of the poor live in Mbari, in Harare. Please go on. Aha. This is, go to the next one probably, yeah. You can see the windows. You can see those windows. They slant. They can't even open properly. So when you are there and there's no electricity, which is more likely than not, in most cases there will be no electricity. It could go without electricity for weeks. And yet this is the best our designers could give us. The humanity, the other day my vice chancellor was saying we need counseling in terms of people, you know, having all kinds of psychological and other issues. I said, how can you come into an environment like this to work every day and you wouldn't have issues? There is no cross ventilation. You are not getting oxygen. Your body needs oxygenation. All right? And if it's not getting enough, definitely it's going to suffer. The brain, you see, many people are hot-tempered. They are so brittle. The reason they are brittle and hot-tempered is because the environment. And we don't think about all these things until they begin to manifest. You see your students going to write exams and they are blowing themselves. How can they think properly about the answers? They read throughout the night and there is no oxygen where they are writing the exam. The AC doesn't work. Please go on. All right. Now, I found that very interesting. Okay? I couldn't still understand. This is a library. You know, the library accommodates, you know, people who come to study, researchers and so on and so forth. When you look at this yourself, how would you want to go into something like this to do any research? First, in the bowels of that place, you will not be able to get anything done. You can't see properly. There is no oxygen. All right? Please go on. So, Thomas Kuhn had, you know what Thomas Kuhn was talking about, paradigm shift? The idea is that when you go doing something for so long and it's not working, the educational system that we have embraced since University of Ibadan was formed in 1948, producing, you know, brilliant academics and workers, simply has failed us. If the best we can do is a society and a country that continues to go backward, instead of forward, and yet you are producing graduates and doctors and masters every year, something must be wrong with that educational environment. Okay? There is need to re-examine the paradigm and to see what exactly is wrong with us. You see, when I say here, you will understand that among our indigenous people, they say, Agidimalaja, awo ile Ife, awo nigbawo nigbonwo, bawo bagbawo nigbonwo, awo aya. You see, you are now talking about cell technology. My ancestors knew about Aroko, and they were able to communicate at a distance. But they told us that our ancestors were primitive, in a primitive society, so they killed our ability to research the sciences and the technologies that they developed until they discover it. I mean, China has now discovered a fairy. They can now make you disappear. And my people were doing it a long time ago, you know, a fairy. Our scientists are not investigating that. All they are doing is follow. Follow. The only thing is what they tell us to research. One in 30 taditi bagbo kiti etodi intafojubari kiti koju etofo. That is, we are just like that. We are like the gramophone. You know, on the gramophone, that thing, when you open the case, it is written there, his master's voice. We are his master's voice. That's all we do. That's why we are like this. Just last week, I got something sent to me by a colleague where the Ghanaians, 2 ladies were abducted who were Ghanaians. They were taken to Port Harcourt. Ransom was, requested for release. They traced, from Ghana, their police, they traced the kidnappers to Port Harcourt and Enugu, and they arrested them. When I say Afefe Tife, Atirifu right here, I am suggesting to you that there is nothing hidden anywhere. It is the complicity of our people. We are all guilty. Yeah, please. So now, this is the map of the world. We are told about the 5 or 6 continents, but there are only 3 continents. Okay? There is the Americas. No, yeah, stay there. There is the Americas, there is Eurasia, and there is Africa. All others are islands. But for political reasons, for control reasons, they told us that there are 5 continents. All non-entities make themselves bigger than Africa. The politics of size is a very serious thing. The environment in which geography is written is political. The whole thing about democracy is political. There was never any democracy in ancient Athens. When they say democracy, that's the argument I asked my political scientists and political philosopher friends. How can you say that 5,000 people gathered in the Agora and there is democracy there? There is somebody pulling the strings. But because it suits them, you know how many billions of naira we waste conducting an election? Most of the election materials are not produced locally. Okay? None of the electronics, the computers, the technologies are made locally. So it fits them to feed us the rubbish about democracy. When the white man visited Abeokuta in the 18th century, they marveled at the governance system. You know, Abeokuta has 5 wards, each autonomous. There is nothing like Alake of Abeokuta. Okay? 5 different wards. And each of them had a council that were very, very strong, democratic. So the white man wrote it and said, wow, there is nothing like this in Europe. That is in 17-something. I mean, you need to read Professor Shillong's inaugural lecture and see how it has been documented that this thing, you know, everything is fabricated to continue to exploit, pillage, rape, and destroy the black person. And I don't know why we don't see it. And my own very good friend, you know, wrote against decolonization. I said, we have moved beyond colonialism, decolonization argument. My interest in whatever remains of the rest of my miserable life is to see how I can do something concrete to lay structure so that people will know that at least some of us tried. It's good to try and fail but if you don't try, if you don't see what your problem is, that's the biggest problem. All right? You see, this is the real map of the world. Look at the sizes. No, please go to the next one. You see, the real Africa, you could fit all of Europe, okay? All of Europe, China, India, Australia, you could fit it into Africa, and you will still have, space for part of the Americas. But because of the politics of geography, of identity, and size, go to the previous one. This is what we teach our children in the schools. And when we teach our children this, they feel that Africa is so small. They feel diminished. Not knowing that all the other continents come to Africa to steal, to pillage, to rape, to destroy, to take away. Europeans are hunter-gatherers. That's what they have remained. They have never evolved beyond that. They go everywhere foraging to take. And we are now complicit. Complicit because they have manipulated us using education, using religion. Education, Western and Arabic. They've used it to, they took out our brains, rinsed it off, and put it back into our heads. And we continue to parrot whatever they want us to parrot. We mimic. Okay? Yeah. All right. You see, my father of blessed memory, I don't know how many people recognize this. This is how my father kept yams from one year to the other. This is a traditional way of preserving yam. You don't need to spray it with chemical. All right? And when you put it like this, if it is growing, you remove it. Because when it is growing, that sucks out the nutrients from it. It becomes more sugary, The dried yam is sweeter than the new one. That is because it started growing, and that is sucking out the water from it. Now, the modern one, show me. Yeah, this is the evolved way of preserving yam. It's the same thing, but now done in a commercial level. This is what we should be doing. Not putting chemicals on our yams. This is what our agricultural faculties, should be doing. That's the environment of agriculture. That's the environment of food production. That's where we should be. We should not join, in the pollution. I see everywhere I go now, people spray the field. I don't know how many minutes I have. I hope I still have about 30 minutes. But I'll be brief. Yes, please go on. All right. Keep it at yes. These are the problems we have. This is firewood. Go on. You see? You know how many acres of land this came from? We talk about desertification. We talk about global warming. We talk about all those things. That's the problem. You see, the challenge is this. You know how long Nigeria has been flaring gas? In 1976, I went with Professor Ogundano of blessed memory to Port Harcourt for research. It's like daylight. in Degema, Buguma, and all those places, when they are flaring the gas, and then the soot will be flying all over the place. Intelligent people will ensure that you build pipes first to extract the gas, distribute it, before you get the oil. But we did it the other way around because they told us that oil is the important thing. So our people continue to depend on firewood instead of using the natural gas. I mean, somebody was saying the other day that now we are going CNG. We are now changing all the cars to CNG. Do we have the pipelines to convey the gas? Or is it some trucks that are going to bring it to the location for filling? And somebody says we are now going to be using electric cars. Odegba, exhibited the tricycle they gave him for the Gateway Games. And I said to him, whoever is the engineer telling you that this is global warming friendly, tell the person is not. One, the electricity you need to charge it has to be produced in either of three ways. Either through the grid, which may be coming from the Kenji Dam or some other dam, or through fossil oil, burning some generator to produce the electricity, or it must be coming from solar. If it is coming from solar, we are not considering the problem that Australia and New Zealand are having now, how to dispose of the solar panels when they expire. All of these are issues that our people are not thinking about holistically. Yes, please go on. All right. This is a primary school in not very far from here. I deliberately picked it because it's not very far from here. This is where you want to send a child that is going to dream of how to improve the society. Huh? I don't know why this thing is not very sharp. It was sharp on mine. Go to the next one. These are our children going to write exams. They are going to school. You see the environment. Compare that with what I showed you about a prep school in rural South Africa. Even the primary school where I went to school, the United Primary School in Esauke, was way better than any of this. That was, very early 60s. But instead of going forward, we kept going backward. This is today. I'm not talking about years ago. Please go on. So, remember my friends, multiverse, many universes. These people look down and they ask themselves, what are they celebrating? This is New Year for us. Their planet made a full circle around their star. And then they say it is New Year. I told you they are not intelligent. Who celebrates New Year? Or the myth about God's separated day from night is built on ignorance. There is nothing like that. The day is when this part of the earth faces the sun. When it rotates away, it becomes dark. What is there to celebrate about that? And I'm saying this because of those who believe that there is Monday, Sunday, something. Every day is the same. There is nothing like that. It doesn't care what name you give it. Yeah, please go on. The measure of intelligence is ability to change. Ability to change. But blacks, because the only thing we do is repeat what we have heard before. We remain stuck where we are. Our environment, the educational environment, the religious environment, the social, the family, everything is toxic. And until we begin to look at it, the university is where we have the people who should be thinking about these things and challenging these problems. Yes, go on. Esheun Abomire.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, let's celebrate him once again for that beautiful lecture. Let's have our seats. Once again, sir, we want to really appreciate you for that beautiful lecture. So we want to entertain questions, or if we have any comments, maybe 2 or 3. So comment, question, if we have. Any comments? Question? Okay.
On behalf of the university, I want to thank the guest lecturer for the beautiful presentation. True to what I said at the beginning, when I was declaring the lecture open on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, we have seen that we have really learned a lot. But because of the length of the lecture, I will just like to highlight 3 or 4 points that I want us to take home from this presentation. That's why I opted that I will pass some comments. This lecture is very unique to us as University of Technology because we make use of science and we make use of technology of all manners to influence changes in our society. We have been challenged that we need to look back. That is, we have to be very historical in our approach. Look at what has been taking place in our society in the past, particularly in the Yoruba context. In particular, we are to take a look at what our forefathers were doing and the way they were handling their things. He was able to tell us that Africans have been made to believe that those things belonging to them are inferior when we compare to what takes place in the other part of the world. And as a result of this, we were encouraged to take a look at our forefathers' discoveries and activities in the past. He cited the example of Aferi. There are other types of all those things similar to that. We have what we call betu, which is used in the negative way anyway, but which can be used in the positive way. We have the Egbe, and we have the communication system. I remember years back, before cellular phone was invented, there was a particular man in Yoruba place that used his palm like this to communicate. He was speaking and another person was replying, which means that that idea had been conceived even at Yoruba, because it is said that if you want to predict what will happen in the future, it is better you invent it now. So in such a circumstance, the Yorubas in that play, which I referred to, was able to invent the ability to communicate using something that looked unconnected. And eventually we had the cellular phone. So the lecturer also told us that our environment is too toxic for the desired changes that can take place in our environment. And when an environment is toxic, nothing thrives in it. So research in our University of Technology, like ours, we have to make our environment less toxic so that we will be able to. So our challenge now is that we should make sure that we tailor our research towards developing Africa. I use a word here, we should make it Afrocentric. That is, we should tailor our research towards developing our system. We have system of naming plants, we have system of manufacturing, of cooking, and so on and so forth. All these, we can develop our science locally, which will be unique to us. That is the essence of today's lecturer. On that note, I want to thank you again for that beautiful presentation. God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for that comment. So, on that note, I want to invite to the podium here the Deputy Dean of that faculty, Dr. Mrs. Fumi Amao, to give the vote of thanks. Okay. So with the permission of the Vice Chancellor and our guest lecturer, we want to entertain questions, maybe 2 or 3. Comments? Okay, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. The Vice Chancellor, the guest speakers, our own Baba, other lecturers of the faculty, students. Well, I must say the truth and commend our father for this beautiful lecture. So far, this is one of the best lectures in this university. Not from the best faculty, point of correction. But because the lecturer has opened our eyes, not because we closed it earlier, but because we have been mentally colonized over years. However, I am an agriculturalist. The major problem we are facing that is derailing us is food insecurity, poverty, which I stand to be corrected, wasn't mentioned during the lecture. It was a bit, in a way, mentioned when he was talking about the way we preserve our food to make it available around the year and all that. Some of us, we have listened now. When we get to position to change, to make some changes, because of the mental poverty, even after getting whatever we want, need to sustain ourselves throughout our lifetime, we won't be able to make necessary changes. Rather destructive, even professors. Quite sad. University of Technology, we have gone far, best state university at all time. Kudos to the founder, kudos to the administrators in Lautech over years. Like the Vice Chancellor said, we should begin to tailor our thinking towards Afrocentrics. But at the same time, we are all part of management. We should provide enabling environment to sustain this. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you very much. Baba is here. Please.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Adejira, Department of Fine and Applied Arts. I want to pass 2 comments, then ask a question. On the issue of Africanism, I came across an elderly man. When he wants to communicate, he does not have phone. He uses a stone. He will put the stone very close to his ears and be communicating with those people he wants to communicate with, both physically and astrally. He is the person who will get the response. Even if you are sitting very close to him, you will not hear their communication or chatting. That is Africa for you. That means indigenous technology, as far as telecommunication is concerned, has been in existence before the white men. Now, on the issue of change, if you really want a change, from my own perspective, it will start from the curriculum change. Recently, Nigerian universities' curriculums were changed. They call it CCMAS. In our department, like other departments, we know what we faced before we were able to develop our CCMAS. But when you look at the background of this CCMAS, it is not African. It is still tailored towards Westernism. Now, to our guest speaker, you as emeritus professor, what do you think that you can do to assist tertiary institutions in this country so that the concept of change will be embedded through curriculum? Because if curriculum is not changed and tailored towards Africanism and indigenous technology, we are just wasting our time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our protocol. Yeah, every area. So if you want a change, it is multifaceted. You have to come from different angles. We grew in these villages, and we grew with these our forefathers. Whatever science is developing today, they went beyond it before those of us even grew to enter into a university where we are now tailored into the European orientation, the European belief. I mean, everything is wrong. When I started here, and I said, you people should, I said, okay, I will go to traditional architecture. Traditional architecture. I remember in my PhD, I started in the university here. And when I said I wanted to look into traditional housing, and the professor said, in the 21st century, somebody wants to be looking into the mud as a way of building house. That was a part of the supervision. So where was I going? So I resigned and I went to Akure. I got to Akure, I made the same thing. After about a year again, I left the place. Some people know about the history. Before I ran into a place, somebody who did geography, who was ready to say, let us see where you are going. So up to today, I think about traditional house, but that's not all. Let's go to religion. I grew up from where Ntabawu Fogbolo Bongo, Bitawa Fogbalo Bangba, or Hunuelete Nibesi. That came back. They came with religion and they say, you must be mindful of what to speak out of your mind. You must be mindful of your words and what you profess because it will happen to you. You cannot satisfy God unless you have faith. And one important deity in Christianity will say, if your mind, if you have a strong faith enough, you can say to mountains, you mountains here, move to that place. And if you believe so strongly in your heart, the mountains will move. How is he different from somebody who says, shut up, you don't know him, don't talk, and you don't talk? He's telling you, he's commanding you, he's telling you with his words, with simple faith in what he's saying, and you are obeying it without knowing. Which is, wait, is it new? Is what I bring it to us in Christianity, is in Islam? Is it new? And when you go to church and you say this and you try to say there is an antichrist, this, say it's satanic. Satan is working him. It's from all facets. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where to start. Because I've experienced so many ugly things. Because you want an orientation, that you want to build on an orientation that you saw at your young age and you saw it was working. My father wasn't a Christian. My mother wasn't a Christian. I went to a seminary and I got there and I started asking them, you don't make any graven image for yourself. Don't worship them. And yet, the first commandment that says you should not make unto yourself any graven image. And that's how I was driven out of the seminary. This man cannot. I mean, I can go on and on. So the orientation we need, I don't know who is going to start it. Because they will persecute you. But if you can do it, please, I will join you. Thank you very much.
Standing on the existing protocol, I am Karim Latif Keulabi from the best department of the faculty, Department of Estate Management. The guest speaker, sir, I just want some few requests from you, sir. The first one, during your speech, you mentioned when you are talking about Abeokuta, you said we should go and read Professor Silem inaugural speech. Silom, okay? So, inaugural speech on what? So that I have been trying to search for it, but I can't get it. And the second one is, what is your advice for the incoming environmentalists to improve our environment and bring back the glory of our forefather that has been lost due to the ignorance to develop the environment, sir?
You see, I want to thank everybody very much. The protocols seem to want to end the interaction, with the vote of thanks immediately after my Vice Chancellor spoke, and I felt that I needed to know if the audience actually listened. Because, at times, people can humor you by sitting quietly when their mind is not there. And for the Gen Z, the attention span is very, very short. So I needed to have a feeling and, and I came here for this. I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. And I'm retired. I'm an idler. So I'm now a professional bum. So I can sit and, and enjoy myself with this kind of rapport. So thank you very much. Let me deal with what my Vice Chancellor gave me. What to be done to ensure change in curriculum towards Africanism. This is serious. By the time I was 5 years old, I told you that I was my mother's handbag. Huh? I was already selling gari, ewa, and various things, which means I was already proficient in the pounds, shillings, pence then, before Naira and Kobo came. All of a sudden, I got to the primary school and then they said, 1 Oka, 2 AG, 3 ETA, 4 Henry. This is me, who had gone to Egbegbenu before coming to school. They reduced me to tabula rasa, empty, blank state, who is now trying to learn numbers. The same thing with language. A for apple, B for boy, C, and all of these things is part of this curriculum that we do. How many other nations do this to their children? You start from where your child is and build up. You don't regress them to blank slates. That is the first problem. Now, curriculum that we practice is received, is alien curriculum. Unfortunately, the leadership, they don't listen. They don't listen. I mean, can you imagine the tertiary education? I hear that they were trying to enforce what they call core curriculum on all universities some time ago. I mean, a university in Maiduguri and one in Buguma, you want them to be, don't start with what they have. By the time I was 5 years old, I knew virtually all the plants. I knew the ones you eat, the ones you don't eat. I knew, everything. But you see, nowadays our children don't know anything. Even our undergraduates, should there be war tomorrow, they cannot survive without shawarma and indomie. They are so empty, they are so useless to themselves and to society. Hey, please forgive me, nobody said they curse you. It's just a fact. Okay? When I'm walking around, I identify plants. You know when COVID happened? That was when, and COVID was not a natural phenomenon. It was manufactured. And the target was Africa, because we don't even have a healthcare system. They expected it to have decimated our society. Unfortunately for them, indigenous knowledge systems still existed, and therefore our people survived. Okay? So in terms of curriculum, we need to reverse. Our vice chancellors, when they meet, I've been telling the secretary, of the committee of vice chancellors, who happens to be somebody I know very well, that they need to have seminars for the vice chancellors, for the ministries of education. Part of the challenge, and I keep saying it, I would not mention any name. There was a professor from LASU who became a super vice chancellor as NUC secretary. And it was a disaster. And the disaster has not left us. The disaster has not left us. And the gentleman is still around. He's very much in the corridors of power. So, number 2. Professor Folani Shillon was a professor at the University of Ibadan, a lawyer, a professor of law. And the inaugural lecture, I've forgotten the exact title. I think it was presented in 1986 or thereabout. I have the electronic copy. Wonderful, wonderful researched paper showing the governance system. And this is how it is before it gets to the Oba's Council. In many Yoruba societies, we have king. And the queen is not really the wife of the king. The queen superintends the affairs of women. The king superintends the affairs of the men. When there is a common issue, younger generation is, they want microwave money. Microwave money. They want it ready-made. They want everything now. They don't know that the race of life is a long-distance race. And if you don't invest in your life, there is nothing you are going to get out of it later. Even if you have the Yahoo Plus money, you can see that it is never intergenerational wealth. It doesn't last. So that's the best I can say. Now, my agric expert, you see, genetic engineering has been long in Africa. My father was a genetic engineer, cloning plants and animals, knowing how to interbreed, you know, how to preserve the best. I showed you the Ogba, you know, the bands for yam. The ones for planting is already selected and preserved, okay, for the next planting season. That is how you breed the best. And in terms of cloning, they know that when you plant different crops together, because of flowers and, you know, insects, pollination, they know that, you know, changes take place over time. And they encourage that. Okay? There is so much we need to learn. You know, when you plant corn, maize, and it grows, and it's about 2 feet on the ground, there is a particular bug that goes on it, turns it whitish, and eats it off. Now, my father had something that he did to deal with it. He would just say, okay, go and do this, and we will do it. It's my personal trademark. I'm not going to tell you. So don't. The professor of agric can talk to me later, and then we will negotiate. I'm now in the white man's land now. No knowledgeologists. They knew all those things. They were disease experts, and they knew what to do. Okay? I remember, you know, if you look at my body, you will see all kinds of cuts, and because I was a little bit cantankerous anyway, so it's not a big thing. When I get a cut, I know what to do to stop the bleeding. You can take ordinary sand, you know, put it on it, and it will stop. And after some time, the sand will actually become part of your body. It will eat over it. And life goes on. All right? But now, everything must be chemicals. And the chemical you are using to treat headache, they say it can cause heart attack. It can cause, you know, seizure. All you want to treat is headache. That is what we have embraced. So, the educational curriculum is a big, big problem. We have not integrated nature into our educational curriculum. I grew up in my father's attender. I think it was in primary 2 when I made a seat as my handiwork. Okay? And I sanded it properly and I took it to school. And the headmaster, Baba Adelugba, the father of Professor Adelugba, Dapo Adelugba, you know, of theater arts, the man took it and he would not, you know, he exhibited it in his office. You know, just a seat, Akpoti. I built it myself. I knew how to do that before I was 8 years old. That is the basic classroom. The environment is the curriculum. If we don't do that, they're just going to be dependent. If you look here, virtually everything here is imported. None of them is made locally. And if the curriculum doesn't teach them to appreciate, you know the reason why the Chinese are able to come here and mine our gold and create all kinds of banditry and all those things? Because our children they don't know the value of what they have, what is in the ground. If they know the value of what is in the ground, they will protect it. They will defend it. And they have all their handsets. If there is a crime going on, all they are doing is TikToking. They are not taking pictures to send to the police or to store and to circulate so that the criminals can be caught. Not knowing that intelligence means protecting yourself and others. And others. Looking out for others. So, traditional housing. Yes, thank you so much. We must go back into an eco-friendly architectural system. Because what we are doing currently is simply not working. As I am here, I'm sweating. And the reason is, you can see the environment. The air circulation is poor. You have about maybe 100 people here or 200, and you need a lot of oxygen. Okay? So, I don't know what to do. Change has to be multifaceted. It has to be in all directions. The idea of our people just being dependent, always expecting other people to solve problems for them. The reason the Chinese have taken over. In primary school, the Chinese people made the inkwell, they made the pencil, they made the sharpener, they made everything that we were using. That was in the 50s and 60s. And now people are wondering why is it that they are doing so well? And they are taking their people out of poverty at an exponential rate. And that is the beauty of it. A people who care for their people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, we can do better than that, please. We want to appreciate the emeritus professor for doing justice to all those comments and questions. So, I want to go back.
I would like to stand on the already established protocol. I stand before you today with immense gratitude and appreciation as we conclude this third occasional faculty lecture on the African environment in historical perspective, challenges, prospects, and opportunities. It is a privilege to be part of this significant event, which has brought together scholars, professionals, learners to engage in vital discussions about our environment. First and foremost, I would like to extend my expert gratitude to the Vice Chancellor, duly represented by Vice Chancellor Professor Ogunkunle, of this great institution, Professor Razak Olatunde Romkalilu, who happens to be the father of this faculty. I feel so honored to introduce and to appreciate the first female dean, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, in person of Professor Margaret Olugbemisola Areo, for organizing this impactful lecture. Your dedication to fostering an academic environment where critical issues were explored and debated is commendable, ma'am. Members, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, you are highly appreciated. Also, I commend the effort of planning committee headed by Professor Mrs. Abolade. We are grateful to our remarkable speaker, Emeritus Professor John Ayotunde Ishola BEWAJI. Ọmọ olóbì kan tiriwọ́, ọmọ olóbì kan tiriwọ́. Ọmọ olóbì tó wọ̀ sí àgbàlá tó wá so ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹwà. You are welcome, sir. Whom insight has illuminated the complexity surrounding the African environment. It is essential that we underscore our past to navigate our present and future effectively. Its representation has not only highlighted the historical challenges we face, but also unveiled the prospects and opportunities that lie ahead. The interdisciplinary approach underscores the importance of collaboration across the various fields, both agriculture, architecture, urban and regional planning, geoinformatics, name many disciplines to address these pressing issues. Thank you, sir. To our distinguished speaker, thank you for sharing your expertise and perspective with us. Your contribution has enriched our understanding and has inspired us to think critically about our roles in creating sustainable solutions for our environment. The knowledge imparted today will undoubtedly resonate with us as we continue our academic and professional journeys. I also acknowledge the enthusiastic participation of our audience, both the staff and students. You have added depth to this discussion and demonstrated the collective commitment we share towards improving African environment. It is encouraging to see such interest and passion among our students and carrying forward the insights gained from today's lecture. Let us remember that the challenges we face are not insurmountable. Instead, they present us with opportunities for innovation, for creativity, for collaboration, for growth. Together, we can work together to sustain a more future in environmental and general sciences and technology and our community. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, the Deputy Dean. So, on that note, we have come to the end of the program. Shall we all rise to take our anthems?
Take anthem.
We sing for Lautech, your promotion of applied sciences. All see the spectrum and the meaning of the race of progress. Students of Lautech are the leaders today we manifest. Great staff committed to the training of total persons. Great Lautech brings God of us, always stand for excellence. Great Lautech brings God of us, integrity and service. Integrity and service. Integrity and service. Aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Ipò aṣíwájú l'Ẹlẹ́dùmarè fún wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe gírí, ọmọ Ọ̀yọ́ ká tẹpá wa mọ́ṣẹ́. Ká bára wa sọ̀rọ̀, ká sòdodo, ká ṣohun tó dára. Nígbà gbogbo, níbi gbogbo, fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. Onírẹ̀yìn o. aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá, aṣíwájú ni wá. Aṣíwájú ni wá. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all and proud to serve our sovereign fatherland.
While still standing, the Vice Chancellor and the people on the high table will first leave the hall before others. Thank you very much for coming.
This lovely Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing, all dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept. Oh, dear sweet rainbow, allure my feelings, make so timeless. One race for zenith, we together began one day. You led me on as we've come this far. We fixed our shoulders and determined just to win. You led me on as the race was made, there to be champions.